last video, we found out the consort was taken by mercenaries and a mage. The mercenary mentioned the name Kalith. So is now we have to find this Kalith and become a mercenary for him to find out where the consort is. We're supposed to join the mercenary. Swamp survival skills. Someone had done the best they could using bare boards and leather thongs to create a makeshift book. Among the few peasants and apprentices who could read, such books were far more common than expensive leather volumes. The grammar was poor, but the wealth of information about swamp hazards and survival techniques made it worth deciphering. It looks like it gave me 5 to stealth. So let's take that. Yep, 5 to stealth. So I'm almost maxed out of stealth for this chapter already. And this is Weather Patterns of Ramar. Aaron partially unrolled the parchment scroll, wondering why some mages, politicians, and scholars still insisted on such an archaic form instead of the more easily read bound book. It turned out the report wasn't merely about observing or predicting weather patterns, but about manipulating and controlling them. Aaron understood only a fragment of the concepts explored in the scroll, but what he gleaned electrified him. So it gives you some to electricity. It's like it's just something to give you more bonus skills. I'm gonna kind of just throw that one out. I don't really need that anymore.
Given what we know, I don't think we'll find the consort by going this way. We shouldn't stray too far until we figure out where he is.
I did that just to show that you can't go back into the cave. I mean, you kind of explored it, but it's important to know you can't go back in there. Looks like there's something over here. Let's go that way. so good having high defense. It really is. It's almost like having ultra instinct. Like they miss so many shots against you. It's easily the most important thing you can have is high defense.
That's not right.
William and Aaron caught their breath after the battle. They watched the man rise up from where he cowered, covering his head with his arms in an attempt to protect himself from the lightning bugs. Acting as if he didn't see them, he turned and strode into the swamp. The companions followed, as curious as to what he'd do next, as they were annoyed that he didn't even thank them for rescuing him. The ground turned marshy beneath their feet. Mud and muck sucked at their boots. Though they chose their steps with care, the going got perilous. William was about to suggest they head back to the road when the man ahead of them stopped and waved his arms. Aaron heard words of magic plus a number of unrecognizable sounds. Accompanied by a crackling noise, the ground grew firm. William took a step. It's solid, but slippery. I think he froze it. Walk with care. He's a mage? What's he doing out here in the middle of a swamp? I'm just about to ask him, William called up ahead. Ho, the mage. We want to talk to you. The mage whirled around, his eyes gleaming and darting from side to side. Buzz, buzz, zzz, zap. William, I think he's in shock from the lightning bug attack. I don't know, he looks like a wilder mage to me. He probably went crazy a long time ago and was cast out by his tribe. He could be dangerous. Well, I feel sorry for him. I'm going to get going closer to try to talk to him. I don't think that's a good idea, Aaron. Aaron shrugged and walked slowly toward the mage, his hands outstretched. William drew his sword and followed a few paces behind. The mage whirled first in one direction, then another, thrusting his staff out against attackers only he could see. Aaron got close, but the mage didn't notice him. Aaron clapped his hands. The mage jumped, but his eyes focused for an instant, taking this as a clue. Aaron punctuated his greeting with claps. We mean you no harm. Speak with us. The trick worked. The mage saw Aaron. Cold. Aaron prompted, You're cold? The mage raised his staff as if to strike. William rushed in, but Aaron held him back. In a voice broken with disuse, the mage uttered, No, I am cold. The center of cold. Here. The mage pounded his chest with his fist. Oh, I see. You can control cold. That's how you froze the swamp? Why don't you freeze the lightning bugs too? The mage's attention had started to wander, but it snapped back into focus at the word lightning. He became agitated, waving his staff in a frenzy of parries. Swarms, attacking, cold makes them angry, nowhere safe, pain, agony. The mage fell to the ground, protecting his head with his arms, his words trailing off into a high-pitched whine. So I don't have what he needs. I'll be back to him. This kind of feel like a chest bit.
Does it seem awfully quiet?
So annoying, aren't they? They fight you, and then they fight you, and then they run away.
That doesn't work.
charm was one of the few items Chaka ever exchanged with outsiders. Woven from their own feathers, it was valued not just for the good fortune it was reputed to hold, but because the Chaka only bestowed them as gifts of respect or appreciation. Yeah, I was weirded out because he's already wearing one. I was like, okay. Yeah, now we got two people wearing them. annoying how tanky they are, isn't it? Ridgewood bow. There was no mistaking the purpose of this weapon. The compressed form, the unusually heavy wood. This bow was built for power. With such strength behind it, William was certain the bow's accuracy suffered. But then perhaps one good shot was all it would need. So that one has a 12 damage modifier, but it's really not that good because this Gerolf bow has a 10 damage modifier. Yes, they're both injured slightly, 84% condition, but this is not that great of a bow, honestly. Antari plate mail. In the hands of Antari craftsmen, a piece of metal became a work of art. The finely filigreed plate mail with its ebony and onyx inlay was in great demand among generals, knights, and poseurs. The former for the unmatched protection it offered, the latter for the flashy image it afforded them in public appearances. Kind of goes without saying that this is a very good piece of metal. It's much better than the chainmail. The chainmail is 60% absorption. This is 80% absorption. I have blessed plate mail. The blessed plate mail right here is 80% at full capacity. So I have about the same unblessed, but it's unblessed. Judging from the construction equipment scattered about in the half-painted interior, it was apparent that the shop wasn't quite open yet. William caught the eye of the man who seemed to be in charge of the organized chaos. "Excuse me, we were just passing by and wondered what's going to be here." The man scratched his head. "They're gonna serve drinks here." Aaron thought he understood. "Oh, a tavern. Kind of small, though." The man shook his head. "That's because there ain't going to be more than a couple of tables. The idea is that people are going to buy their drinks here but drink them somewhere else. And not ale or wine, but hot stuff like tea." Aaron's face showed his puzzlement. "Why wouldn't you just make your own at home instead?" "I don't get it either," he shrugged. "The owner thinks it'll be big, though, planning to set up shops all over the empire. His name's Ishmael, I think." Thanking the man for his help, William and Aaron left him to his work. So I've actually looked this up. This is like a bizarre reference to a coffee shop set up by someone named Ishmael. Like, such an unusual reference. Through the open door, the companions saw a man hunched over a cold fireplace, trying to light kindling with a flint. The fluent stream of curses issuing from the man's lips indicated he wasn't having much luck. Aaron volunteered his assistance. "I can get that fire going for you, sir." The scruffy man stood. "Be my guest, but the sodding wood is wet clear through." Aaron knelt by the hearth. Softly singing a fire song, he coaxed a tiny flame with his crooked index finger. Gently, patiently, he guided the flame along the twigs until the smaller branches lit of their own accord. The fire well started, Aaron stood, brushing off his hands. "There you go." The man started. "Huh, I should have known you for a mage. You got that holier-than-thou attitude down square." William interjected. "That's not the right way to talk to someone who just kept you from freezing this evening. What do you have against mages anyhow?" "Got my reasons." The man spat on the earthen floor. "It was a mage what caused me to be squatting in this wretched shack, instead of living it up in a comfortable inn. He come to me last week, well-mannered and high-mannered he was, told me he'd pay well if if I'd protect him in the swamps. He had some notion about collecting the bugs to study their lightning, and I was needed to keep him from getting fried in the process. I did my job and more than saved his magic arse several times that day, so when he's got all his damn bugs, what does he do but throw a hex on me? I must have been out for a while because when I come to, the mage was gone. Stiffed me good, sighed his hide. William says, guess that would take me off too. Did he leave any clues behind that might help you track him down and get your due? The mercenary scratched his rump. No, just some buggered books. I almost burned them, but then I thought, what if he comes back to a pile of ashes? The last thing I need is an angry mage on my tail. Aaron suggested, perhaps one way to get back at that mage would be to tell us where the books are. Then if he comes back to collect his belongings, they'll be gone, but he won't be able to blame you. That'll work. We work on the outer edge of the swamp east of Torless, south of the road. Not that I've ever heard of it, but I hope this steams that mage good. So, this is kind of one of those weird encounters, because basically we dug up a bunch of books as soon as we got out of the shepherd's lair, and that's what he's talking about. I don't know how any player could actually miss those, but perhaps they just wanted to give us a backstory of where those books came from. A hand fumbled at the doorknob, then the door swung open. A man with his arm in a sling apologized. Sorry for the wait, but it takes me a while to do things with my left hand. What happened to you? William asked. Chumen happened to me. I come home last week to find a pair of them wrecking my house. I tried to fight them off, but they knocked me down. Cursed my luck to fall on my arm. Fortunately, my son wasn't with me. If anything had happened to him. The man's words trailed off as if he didn't even want to consider the horrid possibilities. Aaron looked around in the tidied house. Looks like they didn't do any permanent damage. No, I got here before they had time, but they did make off with something irreplaceable. The man sighed. Maybe this won't sound like much to you, but when Kurith was born a few years ago, I had a special lever chest made with his name as a combination. A girl crafted it from rare and expensive woods. It didn't have much of value in it, just some keepsakes, but I planned to give it to Kurith on his 16th birthday. William and Aaron promised to keep a lookout for the chest if they happened to cross any Chumen. The man thanked them. I give you a hand, but... He gestured at his broken arm and shrugged ruefully. So he's talking about that chest that we ran across just before I got here. A small brass plate read, Sir Richard Densmore, Provincial Representative. A butler answered the door. William was just about to introduce himself when he was interrupted by a voice from the hallway. I'm not taking any callers today, James. Tell them to make an appointment for after I return from Antara. William looked past the butler to see a bald, hawk-nosed man pulling on his gloves. Have I the honor of addressing Sir Densmore? Not for long, you don't. The man laughed loudly at his own joke. I'm on my way out the door. The share goes into session in a few days, and I've too much to do to stand about discussing the state of your fields or the taxes on your shop, or, he looked at William with some puzzlement, or the condition of your lifestyle, whatever that may be. Perhaps just a few minutes of your time? Densmore stepped up to William, looked down at him, raised his eyebrows, and said, Excuse me, sir. You are blocking my door. William stood aside. Densmore swept past him, bestowed a single condescending glance on Aaron, and continued down the path to his awaiting carriage. Okay. guess it really was. He wasn't kidding when he said there wasn't much in there. Jeez. I mean, I guess I can use this to make more Fadali paste. How is the arm? William asked when the man opened the door. The man adjusted this thing. Not so good. I don't think the bone is mending properly. Sorry to hear that. However, we didn't come by just to pay a house call. We have some good news for you. Well, I certainly could use some. We ran across the Truman and guess what they had? Your chest. Not being in the brightest lights in the outhouse, the Truman couldn't figure out how to open it. With the exception of a few minor scratches, it's as good as new. The man beamed. Yes, that is good news indeed. Please tell me where it is so I can fetch it home. William unrolled his map and pointed to the chest location, which is basically down the street almost. better take some friends along to help. You're not in any condition to be lugging a chest through that swamp. I will. Thank you very much. Here, maybe you can use this ring. I won it from a guy in a card game. I said it was magical, but I think he was trying to bump its value. Oh. The circlet of Sinatron. I threw this in the trash once, and I can throw it in the trash again. Goodbye, circlet of Sinatron. Yeah, you always have to save when you get. This is one of the most notorious bugs in this game. If you're gonna walk across this swamp, you have to save because let me show you. You can get stuck in the swamp. William called to the head of the Gerolf pack. Excuse me, venerable leader. May I ask you where you're bound? The aged Gerolf turned his grizzled head in William's direction, but didn't show his pace. We have no time for idle roadside chats, young man. Please do not detain us. William and Aaron broke into a jog, keeping pace with the Gerolf. Aaron asked, Are you answering the summons to return to the ancestral den? The pack leader stopped and stared at Aaron. What do you know of this human? Intimidated by the Gerolf's stern manner, Aaron quickly replied, We heard that ghosts were threatening the den. Can you tell us more? The Gerolf puffed through his teeth. Apparently you are better informed about the situation than we are. Then are we? William cut in anxiously. Look, a friend of ours, a human woman traveling with the Gerolf, has gone to look for her father. He lives on the way to the ancestral den. If you see her, would you mind telling her? Annoyed at being treated like a Drakan messenger, the Gerolf growled. Tell her what, human? William blushed beneath his tan. Just forget it. May you have a safe journey. And you.
Given what we know, I don't think we'll find the consort by going this way. We shouldn't stray too far until we figure out where he is.
Group of grizzled men in patchwork armor lurked near the swamp's edge. They had the air of men feigning idle ambivalence, while waiting for something to happen. They eyed William and Aaron warily. I think I should sell something to get that plate armor. So I can get plate armor for William right here. Now wait. I mean, there's no... Why bother waiting when I can just pick up this stuff, sell it, and buy that plate armor and be done with it? So basically, I have to give him grounding wire.
Looks like our eyes were bigger than our packs. If we want this, we'll have to make some room for it first.
Aaron clapped his hands to draw the mage's attention, then he held out the wire. This is grounding wire. It will protect you from the bugs, lightning. You will be safe. The mage seemed to understand because he clutched the wire like a drowning sailor grabs at a floating branch. The mage started to walk away, then turned and thrust his staff at Aaron. Aaron instinctively took it, but though he protested, "But this is your..." The mage said, "Staff will teach cold." Then he strode away into the depths of the swamp. So, he gives me a cold staff here. It's got 10 charges of cold. I already have a kinetic staff. With a lot more charges in it. It's got 38 charges. I could take both though. If I drop something, maybe I can carry it. And maybe I could use it. Let's see, it takes up a lot of inventory space though. So I got cold from a mage, obviously, but these different staffs, they help teach the different disciplines. So you can see like my cold with the staff on gives me an extra 10 to it, to cold. If I put the kinetic staff back on, see it was at 90 before, my cold was at 90. Now it's at 80, right? Looks like it's already maxed out. I should click something else to max out. But yeah, that's basically what it can do. So they pretty much already set the boundaries. I can't. I was in Torlith and I couldn't go that way, so.
Does it seem awfully quiet? Mage is really going old school using that old tortoise spell on me.
This document acts as a formal contract between Gary Barcudi and Sir Richard Densmore. Sir Densmore agrees to pay Barcudi the sum of 750 burlas upon proof that Lord B. Stafford of Iston has met his death due to apparently natural causes. So I guess our douche Densmore just paid somebody to kill somebody in Iston. It's a good storyline. Believe it or not, you can't really go to Iston anymore. This is just kind of like just a side concept, like they just teach you this stuff. see the staff was, the guy said the staff would, help me with these guys because they hate cold, and I guess this is kind of what proves it. I'm just using up all the charges because I'm just gonna go right back to the kinetic staff. After this, I'm not gonna worry about this staff with, low, with only 10 charges on it. Lord Daka will see you now, said the footman, showing the companions into the parlor. Keeping his velvet-coated back toward them, the Lord said brusquely, "You're late. The rest of them are already on their way to Betrayal. Go join with your fellow mercenaries and don't come back without my wine." Lord Daka surveyed the wine cases coldly. "It's not all here," William explained. "The bandits drank a number of bottles before we arrived on the scene. Count yourself lucky you got any of it back at all." The Lord stared haughtily at William. "Then you can count yourself lucky that you're not getting off without a beating for your insolence." William stalked out of the room. Aaron wasted no time in following him. So basically, he's supposed to tell me that they went here to Betrayal. The companions smelt a rank, foul odor as they approached the house. When they got closer, they saw the cause of the stench. Strips of drying meat and tanned hides on racks in the yard. A man in a skunk's-skin hat tended a smoking fire. "Howdy, strangers. You in the market for some gator shoes? Belts? How about some snakeskin boots?" Aaron waved his hand in an attempt to dispel the drifting smoke. The man continued his sales pitch. "Got your car-live jerky, your crock jerky, and your fieldworm jerky. Bet you didn't know fieldworm is edible, did you?" "Tastes like," William interrupted. "Chicken?" "Chicken? No. Tastes like carlith. But you know what carlith tastes like?" "I wouldn't venture to guess." "Chicken." The man coughed heartily. William ignored the temptation to ask what chicken tasted like. Instead, he went on. "Actually, we're more interested in provisions. Do you sell anything that vaguely resembles food?" The hunter narrowed his eyes. "You city folk with your refined taste buds don't know good eating when it bites you on the arse. This here cured crock meat is oily and tough with a flavor like the swamp it comes from, but not only is it delicious, it won't go bad no matter what. And how would you be able to tell if it did?" Aaron murmured. The hunter folded his arms across his chest. "Listen, I ain't got all day. 30 burlas. Let's buy some crock meat. Why not?" "Sure." William checked their packs. "We're pretty low on supplies and can't afford to be picky. Give us some of that there cured crock meat." The hunter wrapped up the package. "Can't go wrong with this stuff. Cook it up in a stew with some swamp cabbage and marshmallow. You'll love it. Here, have a sample on the house." The swamp hunter dipped a ladle into a vile-smelling kettle hanging over the fire. William and Aaron held their noses and took small bites. William coughed. Delightful. Aaron wrinkled his nose in disgust. Yummy, you can bet we'll be thinking of you come supper time. I didn't see how much food he gave me. A lot of food. This guy has a really good shield here. A surly man answered the door. What do you want? We're trying to find someone, Aaron began. I haven't seen him, the man declared and slammed the door shut. Hi, come on in. I just baked a batch of cookies. Want to try one? The man offered a plate of delicate brown wafers. Aaron snappled a cookie. These are great. Are you a cook? The elderly man chuckled. You might say that. I'm a mage. Spells are much like recipes. My gift is in the art of poison. Forgive me. Gary Barracuda at your service. William choked on his last bite of cookie. These are... You haven't... No, of course not. I only make up poison when I'm paid to do so. And I don't experiment on friendly young men who just drop in for a visit. You must work for some very interesting people, William said cautiously. The mage responded with surprising candor. Oh yes, some of the most powerful officials in the Shira, and a few Jaegers as well. Why, there's one Sharon from Torlith. The mage stopped short, then continued. You'd be amazed if I told you the names of my clients. Almost everyone has someone they'd prefer to see dead. Aaron tried to talk around him, a mouthful of cookie. I'm a mage too, a novice. Do you think you could teach me something about poisons? William looked concerned, planning on doing anyone in. You know I don't really mean any of those little things I say about you, right? Aaron responded cryptically. One never knows when a little poison might come in handy. The mage thought it over, then announced that he'd be happy to train Aaron for the sum of a reasonable 75 burlas. Sure, why not? Aaron paid out the burlas. It's well worth the money just to think of how nervous William will be from now on whenever he eats my cooking. The mage sat Aaron down at his table, opening a small compartmentalized chest. He showed Aaron the various components of his trade. A short time later, Aaron had the knowledge and skill to create and use elementary poisons. Again, this is if you somehow didn't get poisons. He also gave +5 to spell casting here. If you didn't get poison already, obviously I had poison, but he put it up by 10, which was also enough to give me another spell. But I'm not really that, I'm kind of broke, but maybe probably in between streams, probably will sell some things so you guys don't have to just watch me sell things for an entire video. This is, of course, the guy they mentioned that Densmore paid to kill somebody in Iston. They're sands of third class. We don't have to worry about them. I mean, the bandits are low level. If running was the way to win battles, bandits would be the best. All they do is run. These guys are the heavy hitters. Every time I see a swamp, I save just in case. Ganeth. It's an expensive sword. Melchian Boar. The golden-hued spiral blade seemed like a Jaeger's trophy, but the enchanted weapon was quite deadly. With a good solid thrust, the blade came to life, boring into its hapless victim. Ironically, it was named for neither the smith who first forged it, nor the mage who enchanted it, but the first man to be impaled by one. So, has really, really high accuracy for thrust. Comparison to my blade, still, I really like the higher damage. I feel like my blade has better damage overall. Swing accuracy is 25. I mean, the 25, it's basically the same level, but it's just really, really high accuracy for thrust.
Look, everyone! Strangers! Just what we needed, some new ears for old tales. I'm Coruscant, proprietor.
Since it's apparent you like to talk, how about telling us how you lost your arm?
You'll be sorry you asked, little man. It's a dark and stormy night, deep in Mayrat territory. I'm trying to catch some sleep, lying in the dugout half filled with raining water. My buddy Lon is snoring to wake the dead. I reach over to clamp my hand over his thundering yup. Suddenly a Mayrat leaps over the rim of our hole and whacks my arm off with one blow of his battle axe.
Then what happened?
Well, Lon stops snoring right enough. He kills the Mayrat, binds up my arm and drags me through mud and blood to a medical. Saves my life, he does. Thanks again, friend!
Nothing of it, Chorus. Hey, how about an ale in the house?
What do you think I'm running here? A charity institute for destitute drunkards? No, where was I before I was interrupted by that guzzling soak of a bar rag? Oh, yeah. So, that's how I lost my arm. Missed that arm, I do. It was even brawnier than this here wrestling champion I got left.
So tell us, how did you come to lose your eye?
I'm glad you asked, because I was just about to tell you. It's a dark and stormy night here at the Pearl Spittoon. Suddenly the door blows open and a stranger stomps in, shaking off water like a Ticoran otter spaniel. I'm wet and cold clear through, barkeep, says he in a voice like a thunderclap. Make me a Januli julep and go extra heavy on the blister peppers. Now, Januli juleps happen to be a specialty of mine, and I make them hotter than any this side of the way. In 2 shakes and a stir, the stranger has one of my finest creations burning a ring in the bar in front of him, where the steam alone causes 2 of my patrons to run screaming from the room, tears streaming down their faces. The stranger sniffs, the stranger snorts, then he takes a healthy swig. Well, I'll be pickled if he doesn't bat an eyelid. All he says is, "Barkeep, I do believe you gave me a virgin julep for the ladies. There's not enough blister pepper in this to stick in your eye." Well, to say I disagree with his opinion is to put it mildly. To prove him wrong, I grab the blister pepper from his Januli julep and, well, I stick it in my eye. God, if that thing doesn't live up to its name and burn out my liquor quicker than I can say, in 20-0 hindsight, I'd have to say that wasn't one of my brighter ideas.
That's terrible.
Yes, terrible and true. Right, stranger? Every word of it, you blasted fool. How about a newly julep of a house for old time's sake? Ranger, if I didn't know you better, I'd throw you out of here on your raggedy ass! Now, where was I? Before I was interrupted by that freeloading, sub-sucking tank-up tosspot.
Do you know a man named Khalif?
Yeah, I know him. He wouldn't waste his time on a scrawny pair like you, though.
So, I take it you're considered a fair to middling arm wrestler around these parts.
Why, son, am I to take that as a challenge of sorts?
Yes, and here's a wager to make it interesting.
Chorus looks long and hard at William's comparatively puny arm. Then he roars with laughter for several minutes. Finally, he regains enough self-control to sit down opposite William and clasp hands. Still chuckling, he waits for the signal. Then, immediately slams William's hand to the board.
That was fun! And profitable too! Anytime you want a rematch, just let me know!
So I need to get stronger.
Chorus. I was feeling a bit tired before, but now I'm refreshed. Here's another wager. Put up your fist.
You're a game little man. Not much I'll grant. Well, I'm not one to turn my nose at easy.
Chorus sits down and locks hands with William. At the signal, William puts forth a mighty effort, surprising Chorus with a sudden increase in strength. William struggles valiantly to keep his hand at the midpoint as Chorus pauses to reconsider the situation. After a brief hiatus, Chorus comes to the conclusion that things are still pretty much as they ever were, and William's hand once more discovers itself keeping company with the spoons and saucers.
Well, young squire, I'm impressed by your moxie, if not by your brute strength. You know, if you're interested, I could put you in the way of some people always on the lookout for an up-and-comer like yourself.
My pockets could use some ballast. Tell me about these employment opportunities.
Let's see. Gareth is always looking for strong arms, or at least what passes for them in general company. But I can't rightly say where Gareth is at these days. Tell you what, go to Choff and find Luca. Say I sent you, and sure as spit's whistle, he'll hook you up proper. Come back anytime you get to missing me.
All right, time to go to chop.
Does it seem awfully quiet?
Even without the ring on, huh? Silly me, I should have put that thing on before I start breaking all these keys. If the black robe sprinkled with stars was any indication that the man standing before them was a mage, his first words confirmed their suspicions. I am Gordisterini, a wizard of great power and influence. I control the forces of time and can travel backwards and forwards at will. See this? Gordisterini held up a thick chain forged of iron links. William studied the item. It's a Carluda chain. Carluda's chain, isn't it? Not just a Carluda's chain. This is the Carluda's chain, forged by Carluda himself. William protested, but no one really knows if Carluda existed. He's a legend, a myth. The mage replied craftily, I've met him. I traveled back to before the waste. Going such a distance, chronologically speaking, was a great strain on my power. I collapsed. A woman found me and realized that only another mage would be able to restore me. She brought me to Carluda's house. Aaron gaped open mouth. You actually met Carluda? What was he like? Awesome. I could see the forces shape themselves around his body, wrapping him in the fold of power. Everything he touched became charged with mana. Aaron was envious. Did he teach you anything? Just much. With his ministrations, I soon regained my strength. He allowed me to stay on as his apprentice in exchange for information about the future world. Of course, he was fascinated by my description of the waste and the story of how it came to be. Aaron cut in, proud to share his knowledge. You mean the legend that says it was created by two great mages battling over the love of a woman? That the magic got out of control and destroyed everything for miles around? Annoyed by the interruption, the mage continued. Is that what they teach children these days? It's a lie. The waste was a magical accident, all right, but not over anything as foolish as a woman. It was a battle between good and evil, with Carluda standing as the last bastion against that epitome of wickedness, the mage Mordeus. I've never heard of Mordeus. Well, of course you never heard of him. Carluda destroyed him, blasted him into 1,000 pieces, scattered all over the desolate region now called the Waste. Their battle was terrible to behold. You mean you saw it? The mage snorted. Yes, and if you let me finish, I'll tell you. The battle, as I said, was terrible to behold. The mages created two towers of power that wrestled with a sound like thunder. Suddenly, Mordeus's tower overwhelmed Carluda's, and both it and the mage sank into the ground. Now it was William's turn to interrupt. Wait a minute, Carluda didn't lose. Ah, yes, he did, the first time. When I saw Carluda vanquished, I knew it would only be a matter of seconds before Mordeus annihilated me. There was only one thing I could do. The mage glared at Aaron as if daring him to interrupt. Aaron wisely kept his lips tightly sealed, and that was to go back in time before Carluda's destruction. I winked back a few minutes and flung several of my relatively harmless spells at Mordeus just to see if I could affect the battle's outcome with a diversion. It didn't work. Mordeus was still victorious. So I did it again and again and again. Each time I went back, I tried something a little different, casting a spell either against Mordeus or for Carluda. Finally, when I was just about at the end of my strength, I found a trick that worked. Carluda had given me this chain as a gift, linking one end of it around Carluda's foot. He was preoccupied and didn't notice me. I took half of the damage from Mordeus's next attack. As you can imagine, it nearly killed me. But because Carluta wasn't hit with the full power, he had enough time to blast Mordeus with everything he had. Mordeus exploded, his remains scattering to encompass the area known as the Waste. Nothing grows there, not even a weed. Pure evil makes terrible compost. Stepping into the cottage, the party saw 2 flasks on the table. A young fair man entered the room, drying his hands on a towel. "Oh, hello," he said in a gentle voice. "We didn't mean to barge in, only the door was open and everyone in this town seems so friendly," William apologized. "Don't think twice about it. I see you've noticed my silver flasks. They are my prized possession, doses of Halder's brew and Melkir's serum presented to me by the Princess Aurora herself," she said. "Walter, after the bravery you've shown, I know you have no need of these potions, but take them anyway as a token of my thanks." "What did you do to deserve such a gratitude from her Royal Highness?" "Oh, I merely saved her life, that's all. She was traveling in a coach when a band of Black Montari jumped the coachman and Imperial guards, killing them all. I happened to be on the same road heading in the opposite direction. I came upon the scene just in time to witness the Montari leader drag the princess from the coach. This mistreatment of royalty made me so furious that I didn't even take the time to realize that there were 8 or 9 of them and only one of me." William looked skeptical. "How'd you fight off 9 Montari raiders?" "I didn't. I only killed 3 of them before being rendered unconscious by a blow on the head. When I woke, the princess and I were at the Montari camp, bound back to back in the shadows. By that time in the evening, the Montari were too far in their cups to take much notice of us. Using a sharp rock, I severed the ropes that bound us. I told the princess to run into the woods, that I would find her once I dispatched the villains. She begged me not to risk my life on her account, but I was firm. 'Your Highness, far be it from me to ignore the pleas of royalty, but a man's got to do what a man's got to do.' Further discussion was impossible, as our conversation had alerted the Montari that their captives were free. The princess took her heels while I proved to those ruffians they had picked the wrong man with whom to trifle." Disbelieving, William asked, "You killed 6 of them?" Walter reconsidered. "Well, perhaps it was only 4. I think 2 of them had already passed out." "So you single-handedly defeated 4 Black Montari in combat?" "I think one of them tripped and fell over a cliff, so 3. Yes, it was 3. William shrugged. "All right, you'd already killed 3 Montari earlier that afternoon. I don't see why you shouldn't kill another 3 before supper. Then what happened?" "I went into the woods and found the princess just as she was about to be attacked by a wolf. Making quick work of that creature, I then escorted the princess through the woods, delivering her safely to the palace upon first light of the day." "I see, and I'm sure the emperor was quick to welcome the man who'd spent the entire night in the woods with his daughter." Walter blushed. "Well, yes, after he'd heard the full story and seen for himself the great wounds I had suffered." "Yes, I'm sure. Well, thank you for the charming story. I'm sure it will make a delightful bedtime yarn for your grandchildren someday." William nodded toward the door. "Come on, Aaron. It's time we went back to the real world now." So obviously William doesn't believe this guy. The thin, dark woman invited the party in for some wine. While they drank, she manipulated a silver coin on the back of her hand, rolling it from knuckle to knuckle. William watched with admiration. "You must be quite dexterous." The woman smiled a thin lip smile. "It is worth my life if I am not. A thief must be deft of hand, light of foot, and quick of mind to survive in this dangerously overcautious world. A thief can trust no one, not even his closest friend. Let me tell you a story that will show you what I mean. It was about 2 years ago. There was a man named Jacob. Not only was he my lover, he was my friend, my partner, and my strong right arm. We traveled to Takora on the trail of an artifact, a priceless gold coin dating from before the Gerolf Wars. We had bought the information that a certain Jaeger had acquired this coin. William was surprised. Not many would dare steal from a Jaeger. The woman shrugged. They bleed red when you stick them and have no more magic than what they can buy from a mage. All they have is lips chapped raw from kissing the Emperor's bottom. The woman poured more wine. We spent several days mapping out the Jaeger's estate and timing the sentry's routine. The following night we struck, wearing this shadow ring. The woman held up her hand to reveal a shiny band. I climbed the wall, Jacob close behind. Jacob took care of the guard while I ran up the stairs to the treasure room. Slipping through the ventilation shaft was a bit of a trick, but I am small and limber. As per our plan, I ran to the door and let Jacob in. Then I went out to stand watch. We had been informed that the coin was kept in a vault with a heavy wooden door. When I heard the door splinter, I knew it had proved no match for Jacob's strength. Minutes later, he came out and we fled. Back in our room at the inn, I was anxious to see our treasure. Jacob's eyes would not meet mine. He said there was nothing there. The vault was empty. I think maybe that information seller cheated us, or maybe the Jaeger moved the coin somewhere else. The thief drained her glass. It was that very evening Jacob and I parted company. Wait a minute. Do you know what became of him? Yes, that I do. You see, when Jacob told me the coin wasn't there, I did not believe him. We recently had an argument over his attentions to a dancing girl. One thing led to another, and he threatened to leave me. I thought it was lying, hoping to collect the coin's worth and leave me holding the cat. I accused him. He denied everything, even shaking out his clothes to prove he hadn't hidden the coin. That's when I realized there are other places to hide such a small object. I bashed Jacob on the head and cut him open from head to toe, searching his entrails for the coin I knew he had swallowed. One more glass of wine disappeared down the thief's throat. The sad thing is Jacob was telling the truth. There was nothing hidden in his carcass. To this day, I still miss him. He was the best partner in the world and an honest one. The red-haired boy unrolled a parchment on the cottage floor. Oh, you're just in time. Look what I got. What is it? Neil, it's a treasure map. I stole it from the pirates. William's hand jumped to his sword. What pirates? Close the door and I'll tell you about it, said the boy, pulling the curtains across the windows. I went to Betrayal to stay with my grandmother for a moon. One afternoon, she sent me on some errands. I started playing with some town kids, so it got pretty dark before I got done. I knew Grandma would be worried, so I took a shortcut through an alley behind a tavern. Next thing I know, somebody grabbed me and threw me in a sack that smelled like fish and old socks. Gross. You were kidnapped by pirates? Yup, the boy answered. They threw me in the hold of their ship until we put out to sea. Then the captain sent for me. He was a murderer with a big black mustache and a talking monkey. He told me I was his new cabin boy, that I better act sharp and keep out of trouble, or he'd hang me from the tallest jib arm. That's how pirates talk, you know. Yes, admitted William. That's exactly how the pirates I've met talk. The boy's eyes widened. You mean you've actually... Oh, wait, I'm telling you about my adventure now. Anyhow, we sailed and sailed and sailed. Every other day or so, we'd come on a ship. The pirates would attack, killing every man, woman, and child on board. Then they'd take all the loot, set the ship on fire, and drink rum until the sun came the next morning. The boy pointed to a spot on the map far out in the sea. I think it was just about here when I decided I'd had enough. I couldn't stand waiting on the captain, fetching his food and drinking at all hours, swabbing decks and polishing brass till my knuckles bled. I knew I had to escape. But you must have been outnumbered 50-1. How did you manage to get away? I waited until they attacked a ship. All the pirates boarded her, not trusting each other with the booty. Then I cut the grappling hooks, binding the pirate ship to the cargo vessel. It was a job hoisting the sails by myself, but fortunately the pirates were too busy killing and pillaging to notice. So you just sailed away and left them there? Yep, and since they'd already started burning the ship, I suspect they all wound up at the bottom of the sea. Before I was over the horizon, I made it back to the coast of Antara, but the ship broke up on the rocks. Holding on to this treasure map, I swam to shore. There's a pirate ship full of gold and jewels somewhere off the coast of Espresa right now. Someday I'll die for it, but right now I'm organizing an expedition to go hunt for this treasure. The boy pointed to a large X on the map. Aaron sighed. If I didn't have other important things to do, I'd go with you. Sounds exciting. Well, I'm sure it will be. I probably have to cross the waste and fight all kinds of horrible monsters. Well, now that I've been captured by pirates, I figured I've got the necessary experience to handle just about any kind of adventure. Onyx blade, where most polished blades reflected sunlight, this jet black sword seemed to absorb it. The process used by the Montari to forge such a blade remained a mystery, but the result was a lightweight, superbly balanced weapon with few equals. It's roughly the same as the one I have, except it's much harder, so you wouldn't have to, fix it as often. Have to repair it with the whetstone. A bell tinkled over the door as the party entered. The little bald man greeted them, a vial of scent water and a package of herbal powders clutched in his hands. I am Canaster. Perhaps you have heard of me. Aaron said that regretfully he had not. Canister bowed his head humbly. That is not such a surprise. Even the greatest of us do our task without notice, creeping from sick bed to sick bed, quietly working miracles for the grace of the Triune. Are you a healer? Yes, such is my gift. I have called upon it much since the feeble pox came among us. But fortunately my powers increase rather than diminish with use. I thought the Sisters of Sinadra were the only ones who could cure the pox. Canister laughed lightly. You have been misinformed. In fact, when the pox hit the temple in Istin, they sent for this humble servant in their hour of need. When I arrived, many of the sisters were stricken, including their leader. I went to her bedside, the only man ever permitted within the inner chambers of the holy sanctuary. Aaron was intrigued. What was it like? Canister's eyes lit up. Her chamber was on the roof of the temple, open to the sun and wind. Huge billowing sheets hung from the walls and ceiling. White doves soared in the dome. The light dimmed in Canister's eyes. His voice choked with tears. The sister was in a grave state, suffering in the final stage before death. I held some sand water to her lips, but she had not the strength to swallow even a sip. I took her hand in mine. In mine, it was as white and cold as marble. I felt despondent, unable to do anything to help. In desperation, I lifted my eyes to the dome's vaulted roof. Canister lifted his eyes to his lower plaster ceiling, obviously envisioning the temple in his mind's eye. In my desperation, I said a prayer to Sinadran. I did not know if it was because of where I was or due to the combination of the sister's power within my own. I only know what I saw next, which was a swirling mist of rose and silver coalescing to form the image of a face. It spoke. I am Denore, priestess of Sinadran. Once I walked the earth seeking to aid mankind as do my sisters after me. You are a great and good man. I will help you rid my sister of the cursed plague that now racks her body. The vision continued. You must make a sacrifice, however. as no gift is without its price. I told the priestess I was willing to give even my life if it would restore health to the sister. Then so be it, said the spirit of Tenere. At that, I fell into a swoon. I did not know how many days I walked outside the world, only that the snows had come before I awoke. When I opened my eyes, the sister stood before me, as strong and healthy as before the illness. She said that while she lay in death's grasp, a warmth washed over and through her, and a voice reminded her of a duty to the gods left unfinished. She sank into a peaceful sleep. Recovery followed soon after. When totaled the sacrifice I'd made, she kept me at the temple and had the sisters watch over me day and night. For many days they thought I would die, but as you can tell, I did not. Why aren't you still in Istan? A temple of Sanhedrin is no place for a man. Besides, the simple life in Choth appeals to me. As soon as I could travel, I came home, my horse laden with gifts of healing abilities such as you see in my hands. Do you correspond with the sister whose life you saved? Yes, though as you can imagine, she is a very busy woman with little time for such as me. She sends a nut cake every year on Emperor's Day. Tall, muscular man wore a leather scale and bore a sword and shield. He greeted the party jovially, inviting them inside, serving up some meat pies for their refreshment. He related his adventures fighting the Mayrat on the border. We'd surrounded a Mayrat stronghold, but no matter what we tried, we could not breach their defenses. I've heard Mayrat forts are impregnable, mumbled William, his mouth full of pie. Not to mention their women, the soldier guffawed. We were running out of supplies. Unless someone did something soon, we'd have to retreat. After studying their walls, I came up with a plan. I went to our commander. He said it was a desperate measure, calling for unmatched bravery, but he gave his permission. The soldier rubbed the back of his neck. I brought a few trusted buddies into the scheme. We prepared ourselves, and in the dead of night, we made our way to a rear gate, calling to the guard on the wall. We petitioned for entry. He came down and let us in. Why'd he do that? Well, our dresses, wigs, and perfume might have had something to do with it. See, I knew the stronghold's camp followers had gone off to the market town just before we besieged the fort. They never had a chance to get back inside. So while the Mayrat had plenty of arms, food, and water, as far as the other necessities go, they were left pretty much to their own devices. So you pretended to be easy girls? William asked, torn between admiration and disgust. It was our only way through their defenses. Once inside, we strangled the guard, creeping through the castle in our stocking feet. We dispatched at least a dozen more before reaching the front gate. Then you dropped the gate, led in your army, and finished them off? Well, yes, but not right away. The stronghold's commander, in company with at least 20 men, came upon us as we approached the gate. There was no place for us to hide, nothing to do but try and bluff it out. Fortunately, the light was dim. The captain mistook us for the camp followers, assuming that we'd managed to sneak back inside. For the rest of the evening, we played the part of giggling wenches, being wined, dined, and teased for our favors. Aaron and William shuddered simultaneously. I know, but a soldier has to be courageous in the line of duty. After supper, each officer took one of us to his quarters. I'll never forget the look of surprise in the captain's face when he reached into my blouse. That pair of melons was the last thing he ever saw. Each man quickly disposed of his date and regrouped in the corridor. We did a head count and realized that one man, Julian by name, was still missing. We were just about to storm the room he had gone into with a young lieutenant when Julian came out the door carrying the lieutenant's head and wearing a huge grin. Needless to say, we didn't ask any questions. Aaron looked pale. Then did you let your army in the front gate? Yes, said the soldier, wrapping up his tale. Our men overwhelmed the Mayrat in no time. My buddies and I were the heroes of the day, though it was months before we heard the last of the rude remarks. Get this charming fella.
Are you Locath?
Yeah, what of it?
Chorus Bale of Ganoth sent us. He said we'd find our fortune waiting here like an easy girl with her knees spread.
He did he? Well, you told him that his little joke fell flat. As if I don't remember that Ganoth dancing girl he sent me. Lord blind me if that veil didn't cover a 3-day stubble.
This is no joke, Locath. Chorus said we're the kind of men you're looking for.
Well, you don't look like much to me, but Chorus is a good judge of men and horseflesh, even if you don't know a good-looking wench from a hole in the wall. Let me call on a few of my colleagues into this here interview process.
This is the lowest amount of men we fought in damn near forever. This guy really doesn't think very highly of us.
Looks certainly do deceive. All right. I suppose I can use you. But before I commit to anything, I want to test you in the field. We've got a little operation going down in Pianda. It was supposed to be a simple matter of get in, get it over with, and get out. Well, things got complicated and the fellas are running out of provisions.
You want us to bring them additional supplies?
You catch on right quick. The men are near Marzi. Find Burge, the lieutenant in command. Give him the provisions and take this note. When Burge is done with you, come on back here with a report. Then we'll see what's what.
One last thing. This guy. The tavern keeper served mugs of thick dark ale. So, what did you think of the townsfolk? They're fascinating, Aaron exclaimed. They lead such interesting lives. For a small town, Choth certainly has more than its fair share of accomplished, adventurous people. The tavern keeper laughed long and loud. You mean Choth has more than its fair share of accomplished liars, boy? Yep, today is the Liars' Festival. The one day of the year when our otherwise scrupulously honest population gives in to the natural human urge to prevaricate, embellish, falsify, and otherwise lie through its teeth. Ah, that explains a lot. So the whole town went to all that trouble just to make fools out of us? No, you're not the fools. You're the judges. The tradition states that the first strangers to enter Choth during the Liars Festival unknowingly listens to all the stories. Then you decide which liar is the most creative and convincing. The one you pick becomes emperor or empress for the duration of the festival. So here you saw that I saved before I went in the inn. So there's all kinds of these different choices. I'm gonna pick soldier. William and Aaron conferred privately for a few minutes. Then William said, after giving the matter much consideration, we have decided that the soldier's lie was the most convincing. The tavern keeper clapped his hands. So be it. Let it be known that Randolph the butcher is the emperor of liars. The crowd in the tavern applauded and cheered. Let it also be known that the liar's prop is to be rewarded to those two young gentlemen who so most graciously judged our contest. Aaron wrinkled his brow. Liar's prop, is that a good thing or a bad thing? The tavern keeper explained, during the year before the Liars Festival, the townsfolk go to great lengths to obtain suitable objects for inspiration and to illustrate their lies. The proper props, you might say. The winner shows his gratitude to the judges by giving them his prop as a keepsake. If I remember correctly, the soldier's props were a sword and a shield, the tavern keeper concluded, handing the items to William. These should come in handy. I'm certainly glad we happened by when we did. We'll be back next year too. Now that I know about this tradition of yours, I wouldn't miss it for all of the golden Berlin. Well, started the tavern keeper. Start thinking up your whopper now, and perhaps you'll be our emperor of liars next time around.
Looks like our packs are...
So the correct answer, I guess, is soldier. There's all kinds of other ones. I think I'm going to actually end the video here, though, because I think this video is kind of getting long. But these are you get a tower shield and this sword. So let me go ahead and grab the sword. This is quite literally the greatest sword in the whole game. Everedge. William thought it was the most unusual sword he'd ever seen. The sinuous blade hardly seemed practical, let alone functional, yet it sliced through the air with nary a sound, and no amount of abuse seemed to dull its keen edge. As you can see, it has very high accuracy and very high damage, and it never needs to be repaired. Absolutely insane. That's an extremely powerful weapon, obviously. Also, this tower shield is very, very powerful as well. There you go. So I'm going to end the video here, and when I come back, I don't want to get rid of that one. I'll show you the other ones, the other choices, what you can get from the other ones. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.